Welcome one and all to another exciting episode of AP Statistics. Today we're going to go over the problem set for lesson 5.1. Hopefully your test went well if you already took it, and if you haven't taken it, please study for that chapter 4 test. All right, so here's our first problem. Let's see, some television stations take quick polls of public opinion by announcing a question on air and asking viewers to call one of two telephone numbers, or text these days, to register their opinion. Telephone companies make available 900 numbers for this purpose. When you dial that, or you text it or whatever, there is a small charge to your phone bill. Okay, first time this was used, ABC, October 1980. So this was Reagan versus Carter. And ABC asked the viewers who won the debate. So call-in poll said Reagan won the debate by a 2-to-1 margin, so pretty soundly. But another network, CBS, did a random survey, and the random survey said 44% to 36% that Reagan won. So you can see 2-to-1 versus 44 to 36. Pretty big difference. So question is, how come they got such a big difference there? You know, why are call-in polls likely to be biased? And why might this call-in poll favor Ronald Reagan, who was a Republican, over Jimmy Carter, who was the Democrat? Okay, so first reason. Call-in polls are going to be biased because of voluntary response. Okay. Anytime you use voluntary response, you have what we call voluntary response bias. The people who are responding are going to feel strongly, passionately one way or the other. The people that are kind of, I don't know, they're not going to take the time. So you're going to miss a large segment of the population when you cut out all of the people kind of in the middle. Okay, now, why might this particular poll favor Ronald Reagan? Well, I would say it has to do with phoning in and charging money. Ronald Reagan's supporters typically were more well-to-do, and Jimmy Carter's supporters typically were less well-to-do. So I would say Reagan was favored on that poll due to the charge on the phone bill. Okay, other things to think about nowadays. This is back in 1980. They didn't have like Fox News and CNN and CNBC and all these different networks. But nowadays, a big thing would be your viewership. If you hold a poll on Fox News, it's going to be typically overwhelmingly for the Republican. If you hold a poll on say, CNN, it's going to have overwhelming results for the Democrat because they're catering to certain bases. And so those are the viewers they have. And if 95 or 99% of their viewers favor one side, of course you're going to get one-sided results when you do a voluntary response poll. Okay, moving on. Number 21. Manufacturer of chemicals chooses 3 from each lot of 25 containers. Okay, so there are numbers, right? These are the numbers that are already on the containers, or on the lot, bottles, whatever. They want us to choose an SRS of 3 bottles from here, okay, using line 111. So notice that these numbers are pretty long. And if I looked at 4-digit numbers, it's going to take forever before I found 3 such 4-digit numbers. So what I did is I renumbered them. So I'll call this one number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way to 25, right? That one will be number 25. Okay, so I'm going to look on line 111. Okay, so that's right here. I got 81, 48, 66, 94, 87. Was it line 111? Yeah. 60, 51, 30, 92, 97, 00, 41, 27. That was close. Ah, there we are, 12. So, number 12. Let's see. 38, 27, 64, 93, 99, 50, 59, 63, 68, 88. There we are, 04. And we need one more. 04 again, we disregard that. We can't select the same one twice. 63, 47, and 11. There we go. So these are the three chosen. So number 12, let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is number 12. Okay, number 4 is... And number 11 would be that one. Okay, so there you go. Those are the three that I chose. Okay, we're skipping 22 on to 23, census tract. Okay, so we've got a map of a census tract, fictitious one, but whatever. And census tracts are small homogeneous areas averaging 4,000 in population. Okay. Then they mark each section with an ID number. So let's take a look. There we go. There's my census tract. Okay. Okay, census tract is often the next to last stage in a multi-stage sample. Hopefully you got that vocabulary. That means that you start with a huge population and you kind of keep breaking it down using different sampling techniques. All right, use table B, beginning at line 125 to choose an SRS of 5 blocks from this census tract. Okay, so line 125 is here. Okay, notice these have 3-digit numbers, so I got to look at 3-digit numbers. 967, nope, there aren't any, so keep going. 461, nope. 214, there's one that actually is in existence. Right there, 214. So that one gets picked. Right, and I keep going. 937, 823, 718, 681, 844, 235, 119. And you're like, wait, what about 235, 119? They're not on here. It actually stopped, right? The ones you can see goes to 118, but not 119. So you just keep rolling until you find some that are actually there. And this was pretty tedious, so I did it in advance. So I keep reading, and then, hey, here's another one that came up. 213, I keep going. 409, so on and so forth. So you can read through and see and check my work if you like, but those are the 5 that I came up with. So 214, 313, 409, 306, and 511. Okay. So moral of the story is when you use, say, 3-digit numbers and you're only using a small fraction of them, it's going to take a while, right? So typically what we can do is you might, if you were given a problem like this and there weren't kind of directions to use the numbers that were already here, you would do like I did on 21 and just renumber these like 01, 02, 03, and so on. And then use a calculator and say, give me numbers from 1 to 30 or whatever you have. And then it's really quick because there's no wasted numbers, right? So that's the way I would do it if I were doing it for myself. But when it's a book problem or a test problem and they specify technique, then use the technique and deal with the tediousness. All right, next question. We're using this random digit table, and for some reason there's a lot of misconceptions about probability. So let's go over these questions here. Which of the following statements are true of a random digit table? Okay, which are false? So, statement A, there are exactly 4 zeros in each row of 40 digits. True or false? Okay, that's of course false. If there were exactly 4 zeros in every row of 40 digits, it wouldn't be random, right? All right, B. Each pair of digits has a chance 1 in 100 of being double zero. That is true. Why is that true? Well, it's random. Okay, if it wasn't 1 in 100, it wouldn't be random. And 0, 0 represents 1 out of 100. Of the choices, right? Of the choices. Okay, because we have 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, blah, 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 all the way up to 9, 9. So it is a 1 in 100 chance since it's random. All right, question or statement C, the digits 0, 0, 0, 0 can never appear as a group because this pattern is not random. If they can never appear, then it would not be random. So they, of course, can appear, right? And they will appear just as often as any other specified order of 4 numbers, okay? So in this case, that would be what, 1 out of 10,000. False. They have a 1 in 10,000 chance of appearing. Okay, so this is kind of the whole point of randomness. You have to understand that everything in a random digit table, like every digit has a 1 in 10 chance of being whichever digit you expect, you want. Every 2 digits is 1 in 100, every 3 is 1 in 1,000, so on and so forth. Okay. All right, next question. Is this an SRS? Corporation has 2,000 male and 500 female engineers. They're going to do a stratified random sample. As soon as I read that, I'm already going, it's not an SRS, right? SRS stands for simple random sample. But they're going to do 200 male and 50 female. So, right, 200 out of 2,000, that's a 1 in 10 chance. 50 out of 500, also a 1 in 10 chance. So the point here is the sample gives every individual the same chance of being selected, right? But is it an SRS? And answer there, of course, is no. Right? How come? Well, even though every individual has the same chance of being selected, not every group of 250 has the same chance of being selected, right? Some groups, as a matter of fact, any group containing more than 200 males or less than 200 males has a 0% chance of being selected, right? And a simple random sample would allow any group of 200 the same or 250, sorry, the same chance of being selected. So no, not every group of 250 has the same chance of being selected. Okay. Again, for a simple random sample, every group of 250 has to have the same chance of being selected. That's not the case for stratified, right? For stratified, every group of 200 men has equal chance of being selected. Every group of 50 women has the same chance of being selected. But you're guaranteed to have 200 men and 50 women. Okay, can't have any deviations from that because they stratified it. Okay, next question. Checking for bias. Yeah, here, make sure, guys, that you learn the vocabulary. You know the names for the different types of bias and that you can identify and explain them, because because that will definitely be on the test. Okay. So comment on the survey questions. Is there a problem with the question, right? Is it unclear? Is it slanted? So let's take a look. Question A. Which of the following best represents your opinion on gun control? We've been given 2 choices to answer. So up till now, no problem. But here's my 2 choices. The government should confiscate our guns, or we have the right to keep and bear arms. Okay. I'd say it's clear, but I would also say it is slanted, right? They're not really offering any middle ground. This is very much slanted towards gun rights. So, question A, this is a slanted question. It does not offer any middle ground. And favors pro-gun data. Okay, and this is something that a lot of, I don't know, not necessarily companies, but when surveys are taken, sometimes the people who are paying for the surveys have an agenda. So maybe the NRA might come up with questions like this because they have a pro-gun agenda. So they'll make a question kind of slanted towards their agenda, and then they can cite the data they get saying, 90% of the population agrees with us, with our side. But again, they're kind of cheating the system by making a question that is slanted towards their agenda. All right, let's look at B. A freeze in nuclear weapons should be favored. Okay, right there, I'm already seeing that this is slanted towards that opinion, right? They're stating their opinion right here. And then they're probably going to go on to support their opinion. Because it would begin a much-needed process to stop everyone in the world from building nuclear weapons now and reduce the possibility of nuclear war in the future. Do you agree or disagree? Again, that's very slanted. It's leading the respondent to favor their position, right? So, again, slanted question. It presents a one-sided argument. Right? So when you're writing questions, you should either not present an argument at all, right? Or you need to present both sides of the argument fairly, evenly, which is difficult to do. All right. C. In view of escalating environmental degradation and incipient resource depletion, would you favor economic incentives for recycling of resource-intensive consumer goods? Okay, so this one, I'm going to say for a lot of readers would be considered unclear. I believe it's written beyond the grasp of the average American, right? The vocabulary used is challenging, I would say, for the average American. So this one, I'm going to say, is... by the way, these are all poorly worded, right? Slanted questions are poorly worded questions. This one is, I'm going to say it's written at too high of a reading level for the average. I'm assuming American, but fill in the blank. Whoever your population is. Okay, and it's also a bit slanted, right? Because it does say, "Would you favor?" Right? It's also one-sided, so you could say it's also slanted. It's also slanted. Oops. By presenting a one-sided argument. Okay. All right, so wording of survey questions, really important. Obviously, you should be able to read things like this, and it should just go, "Yep, no problem. I see this is slanted, or I see that this is confusing, poorly worded, etc." All right, next problem. Okay, so we have an opinion poll, sampled 1,025 women, 472 men by telephone. Right there, we already have a bit of an issue, but let's read on to see what they ask. In theory, in 19 cases out of 20, the results based on the entire sample will differ by no more than 3 percentage points in either direction from what would have been obtained by seeking out all adult Americans. Okay, in theory, assuming everyone had a phone and everyone responded, the potential sampling error for smaller subgroups is larger. For example, for men, it is plus or minus 5 percentage points. Okay, so they're not really talking about the telephone method. That's not what this question is about. Again, telephone method can be problematic, but that's not what they're asking about, so let's not put that in our answer. Okay, explain why the margin of error is larger for conclusions about men than for conclusions about all adults. Okay, well, that's pretty straightforward. It's quite simple. There were 472 men in the sample, so trying to make a conclusion based on 472, right? That is a smaller sample size than trying to make a conclusion about the entire group, right? So the total sample of, what is that, 1,497 will have less variation than a sample of 472, right? So we're basically just comparing the sample sizes. So 472, more variation. 1497, less variation. Simple as that. Okay, next question. We got a party. There are 30 students that are over age 21. There are 20 students under age 21. Okay, so I'm going to choose 3 at random from the over 21 and 2 at random from the under 21. So this is a stratified random sample. You've given every student at the party the same chance to be interviewed. What's the chance? 1 in 10. Why is it not an SRS? Okay, so every student had a 1 in 10 chance of being selected. Okay, how come it wasn't an SRS? Well, it's the same thing we answered on a previous question, right? Not every group of, in this case, 5, okay, not every group of 5 had the same chance of being selected. For some reason, students miss this a lot on the test. So please understand, I was guaranteed to get 3 over 21 and 2 under 21. Guaranteed, because it was stratified that way. There was no way I was going to get 4 over and 1 under. There's no way I was going to get 2 over and 3 under. There's no way I was going to get all 5 of them from one side, right? So an SRS would allow those selections to happen, right? Because an SRS is any 5 out of the total, versus the stratified broke it down and blocked that from happening, Okay, doesn't mean that the stratified sample is biased, not at all. It's just a different technique. Okay. All right, next question. What do school kids want? Let's see, what are the most